Hello everyone, my name is EMEA FYI. Today I've got the second round of the FIA manufacturer series. So first of all, we've got to pick our manufacturer. Now I was considering a lot of manufacturers for this season, but after a lot of back and forth I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go with Aston Martin. So as you can see there, selecting the Group 4 Aston Martin Vantage. Is the only Aston Martin in Group 4 you can even select. But here we've got two choices of Group 3 car. Obviously we're going to go with the Aston Martin Vantage, since it's better in a lot of aspects compared to the DBR9. So as you can see there, we signed our contract and there's no going back on this now. This is our manufacturer for the official season, and I'm actually quite looking forward to this because I do feel as though that could definitely get some good results, especially towards the back end of the season with Sardinia A and Spa as well. So looking forward to the season for sure. I can't wait to make videos on it. But anyway, let's get into the first round then. So we're here at Lago Maggiore West. Now it's a very short circuit. The lap time is well under 90 seconds. So this is one of those tracks where the gaps are really small. Like the gap from first to last was under a second, I believe, which is just mental because that normally never happens on a longer track. But another thing you also need to know is that slipstream is super important, because you've got that back straight. If you've got the slipstream, you will gain like 2 to 3 tenths, and also going up the hill you can get like 2 tenths there. So there's probably about half a second to be gained using slipstream around here. So it is very important. As you can see there, everybody is slowing down pretty much just so they can get the toe, and it is really frustrating because I don't agree with this at all, don't get me wrong. I just think that it's ridiculous that people are waiting just to get the slipstream. I think that the way the qualifying works right now is just not good. I think you should go out on your track by yourself and have no tyre wear or fuel to worry about, and just set 2 laps to go as fast as you can. But anyway, this is my first attempt at a flying lap then. So we're just behind Chon in the Megane Trophy. Now I'm not sure that this is the best car for this round, since it does struggle with top end, but immediately there he nudges Aggie wide, and that is going to slow us down as well since we go to the back of him. As we go through turn number 3 then, just trying to get the best exit that we can, and we will get the draft down the back straight. And this is going to be really important, because if we can stick with these two, then we will potentially gain a much better lap time. However, I said at 31.2 in the first sector, which is not good, especially given that you're in the slipstream. However, we did lose a lot of momentum behind Chon, so that definitely did not help. But going into sector 3 then, just trying to make sure that we keep a good distance. But here, this is a crucial moment, because Aggie just dips 2 wheels onto the grass, and that's going to send him wide, and then Chon is going to come storming through, and he's just going to back out of his lap on the racing line, which is the stupidest thing anyone could do. And I was so frustrated because I knew that was going to be a somewhat decent lap. But we are going to go again, and here we're going to try and set a qualifying lap. We don't have long to go, just over 10 seconds, and then going around the final corner. I thought I wasn't going to make it, but we're just about going to make it with just over 1 second to spare. But as we go into the first corner, they're braking just off the 100 board, and the Mercedes there just get shoved out of the way by Juninho in the Toyota 86. So just making sure you don't touch the grass, because it will lose you a lot of time at this track, especially at turn 3 there. A really easy mistake to make, but it is one that you have to avoid, because you will lose a lot of momentum down this back straight. So they're setting a 31.2 once again, but this is where we're really going to gain a lot of time. But then just going into the back of Juninho, and that is not going to help us at all. In fact, it's going to give us an SR down as it just pops up there. So not ideal, but we've got to try and make sure that we don't lose any more time in the final sector. But as we go through here, then bumping on your qualifier lap is not ideal, and that's what we're having to do here. But going into the final set of corners, then you can just carry so much more speed because he's got that much more grip. But then going through here, just not getting the most perfect line, and then into the final corner, then just braking just before the 50 board, and then chucking the car in there. I think we just powered out a bit too early, and that's really going to cost us a lot of time. So as we go on the run to the line, it's going to be a 28.4, and I was really disappointed with that lap, but it still puts us in P10, which is not bad given that in the slot before this I did a 28.3, I believe, and it put me in 16th position. So yeah, not too bad considering how bad the qualifying lap was. But as we go into the race, then the first thing you need to know is that no pit stop is required whatsoever, and this means that you're just going to go flat out from start to finish. In some cars you will have had to fuel save a little bit, but in most cars, including the Aston Martin, fuel wasn't really an issue as long as you weren't fuel burning at the start. But they're just going a little bit slower than Gregari in the Mazda there, and bear in mind that the Mazda has had a setup change, so it's a lot slower on the straights now. There was also a BOP change just one day before this round, one day, and this led to the reduction of power on a few cars, including the Vantage, which I was quite annoyed at. But Juninho there just drifting a little bit wide, and that's going to lose him crucial momentum. Gregari goes past, and are we going to be able to follow him through? As you can see there, he blocks it off, so we're not quite going to be able to do so. Now, I wanted to get past him here, but I just knew that wouldn't be the best idea, so we look for a move. But again, just not the smartest idea to go for it, especially as it is so early in the race, and plus going for a move there does lose you a lot of time. But let's go into the final corner then, and just trying to stick with the pack as best we can. There's already a gap between P7 and P5, P6 even, so we've got to try and work towards that group. But here we're going to go for a move on the inside of Juninho. Now I did say that I didn't want to go for a move, but I think it was just abundantly clear that I was quicker than him in this stage of the race at least. But he comes storming back through, and to be fair, he did hold it round the outside, so fair play, it was a legitimate move. But I was slightly frustrated because I was hoping that he would back out and let me chase after Gregari. He has lost the slipstream now, which is just doubly more frustrating. But here we're going to look to bump draft him, but then into the big banky boy. Now I don't know if this was my fault here, because I did bump draft him slightly before the corner, but I do also think that he could have braked earlier, given that he would have seen that extra influx of speed. But it is what it is, and we've got to try and close up on Gregari now. So skipping forward towards the end of lap number 3 then, and we have gotten the slipstream of Gregari and the group in front. But another thing as well that has to be brought up is the tyre wear. So it's not too bad for this race, it's only ×4. However, another thing as well is that the front tyres will start to deteriorate at the end of the race, especially if you're in an FF car. Those tyres will not be looking pretty by the end of lap 18. But as we go through the final corner, that we are just about managing to cling on to this group. Now Mario behind, getting a 0.5 second penalty, and that was really going to grind his gears, because he was managing to slowly close up to me at this point in the race. But as we go into the first corner then, just trying to make sure we get the tyres like boom, just go to the grass there. And that was a common mistake in this race that I was making. That really lost me a lot of momentum. So as you can see there, he's just instantly pulled like a 10th just because of that one mistake. So just tucking into the draft there as we just fall out of it. We're just going to skip forward then to the end of the straight. So trying to nail Big Banky Boy as best we can. And we are just about creeping back into the slipstream, but once again we fall out of it due to the way that the toe works. Is that when you're about 6/10 back, you will slowly start to lose the draft, even though you're obviously within the 3/4 of a second gap, if the car in front obviously is in slipstream as well. But as you can see there, we've got a bit of a gap to the cars behind. It's about 1.3 seconds now, so we are definitely starting to find our rhythm, but we are losing time to the cars in front, and then just there drifting a little bit wide, and that's going to allow the gap in front to just increase by more time. So as you can see there, the gap is now 1.8 seconds, but this is lap number 7 now, and Agu is closing up to me, and I knew that he was a lot quicker than me, so I'm just going to let him go. I'm going to stick to the left hand side and just lift off early and let him through, because there was no point fighting. I knew that sooner or later he was going to pass me anyway. I knew that he had the better pace, so I'm just going to let him through and hopefully work together with him to catch the guys in front, especially as P Walker GTR is leading that train, I believe. And he has a bit of a reputation, because apparently, now this is not confirmed, but he is apparently an alternate account of Momos91, and with some of his driving standards I can definitely see why that is the case, as you'll see later on in the video. But as we go through the final corner then, just trying to take a more conservative line, still drifting wide. That final corner is really difficult to get right, especially in Group 4 cars like the Aston Martin Vantage, which are big chunky boys. As we go into the first corner, they're mounting the curb and then keeping the car pinned to the inside, and then powering out as early as possible, but just again dipping 2 wheels onto the grass. And that is something that was really my kryptonite in this one. Just kept on accelerating too early, and we are almost going to lose the slipstream to Agu. But as you can see there, we are slowly clawing that deficit back. But as we go through Big Banky Boy then, closing up then on Agu, I do believe that he is on the fringes of the slipstream with the cars in front. However, I do not know this, is there are no deltas in the replay mode unfortunately, which is a real shame, because I think it will be a good feature for Gran Turismo 7. But as we go to the final sector then, clipping the inside curb and then keeping the foot planted through the double right hander, and you've got to try and maximise the curb on the left hand side. I didn't do it, but definitely could gain a lot by doing it. And then through the final corner, really chucking the car in there, and then just keeping all the wheels to the right hand side without obviously going over to the other layout. But it's going to be a 28.7, which is not a bad lap, but it's also not amazing either. Some people would do 27s, which is just insane pace. As you can see there, RHG Alex with a 28.0 in the Audi TT, I believe. So insane pace, but again, just there, dropping out of the slipstream. Now it's important, because the slipstream can obviously gain you so much time at this track. But as we go into Sector 3, then once again climbing up the hill, and it's such a tricky place to gain time, because if you're not in the draft, then you are going to lose like a 10.5 easily just going up that hill. But as you go into the sweeping rights then, you've got to really take a late apex. I didn't do it there, but you could definitely gain a lot of time by just taking it less aggressively for sure. And then as we go into the final corner then, once again chucking the car in there. We've got to get in the draft, otherwise we will potentially lose a lot of times to the cars behind. But setting a 28.8 there, which isn't bad at all. Some pretty consistent pace there from our previous lap. But here, this is perfect, because Agu is really getting held up by P Walker GTR, who just completely cut the hairpin. Absolutely ruthless from the Frenchman. But we've got to try and close up, otherwise we will be vulnerable to Mario behind. in the GTR, who has now closed the gap to about 0.3 of a second. And here Agu and P Walker are going to go side by side, and it seems as though we're just out of the slipstream, but hopefully we will close in the braking. So as you can see, they're really attacking the inside. You can do that and get away with it, but as you can see there, the Audi just has much better traction than the Aston Martin, and they're going to go side by side. This is just going to lose them so much time, and Agu manages to get the position on P Walker, but we've got to try and follow him through, because it's pretty clear that this stage in the race he is struggling with that Audi not having the greatest front tyres in the world. So we've got to try and capitalise on that and get past him and move up into 9th position. Now hopefully later in the race Agu will get stuck behind other cars, but it seems as though that isn't happening yet, as Mario all over the back of us once again, and he did have quite a decent pace, I felt. The Slovenian, I want to say, but correct me if I'm wrong, I always get confused between Slovenia and Slovakia. I think it's Slovakia actually, but I'm not too sure. So anyway, as we're going through turn number 3 then, we're just going to skip forward to the end of the straight. We're just going to give him a little bump here, because I felt as though he braked a bit early, and we are going to gain on Agu even more, but that Audi just has much better traction, even in the slipstream. There's just nothing you can do about it. And what thing we've got to really manage is the gap to Grigari in P7, because he is closing now on the group in front. So P Walker looks for a move there, but that's just going to lose him even more time. So as we go into the penultimate corner effectively, he does get a much better exit, but that is mainly because of the Audi superior traction. And then into the final corner, really tricky downhill left-hander. You've got to really attack the apex, otherwise you will lose a lot of time. And then onto the finish line, there's going to be a 128.6, which is an improvement on our fastest lap. But Mario there looking for the move on the inside, and we're going to have to leave him space on the outside, but we just managed to keep the position. And then it seems as though P Walker's really all over the place, and then just there bumping him on the exit. And we did go wide, so that isn't going to help either. But Mario there on our inside, and there's not much we could really do. But we're going to go side by side, but we do have the draft of P Walker in front, so we should theoretically have better straight line speed than him. So as we go into Big Banky Boy then, we're just going to have to yield the position then, and there's not much you could really do about that. As we head up the hill then, we've got to try and budge after. We can't lose sight of P Walker GTR, as otherwise he might just run away, and then there's not much we could really do. So we are going to look for a move then. It was really dodgy move, I do apologise, it was 100% my fault. The gap was there, but it just wasn't a good enough gap, and I was going to lose him a lot of time. So that was my fault, I do hold my hands up, and I should have giving him the position back. But as we go into the final corner then, really attacking the inside and then just drifting wide, and that's really going to lose us a lot of momentum. We drop out the slipstream once again. But then going to the end of lap number 13 then, we are managing to close back up to P Walker GTR, and now there's only 5 more laps to go after this one. So we've almost done 20 minutes of racing up until this point, but gets a really bad exit out of the penultimate corner. Unfortunately we just bump him. There's a bit of a lag moment there, as I think someone left the race. But as you can see, in just a few moments time there's going to be a yellow flag at turn 1. So as we go through here then, we're just going to have to go for the move, because he brakes so early. But actually no, that was the wrong lap. There isn't a yellow flag, it's just me being delusional. As we go out of the hairpin then, we are going to get much better exit, but then we just clobber the curb, and that is a really slow line, and we do lose a lot of momentum, and we could have broken up the slipstream there of the cars behind, but unfortunately that just wasn't the case. So skipping forward then once more, and he is all over the back of me, and there's not much I could really do. And now I did go defensively, and I blocked off maybe a bit too late, But here I managed to take the defensive line, but then he just steams his way through. Really, really aggressive driving there from the Frenchman, and I do believe that this should have given him a penalty, because you don't just force someone off the track like that. But I do believe that the penalty system is slightly better. Now, there are ridiculous penalties still, don't get me wrong, but it isn't as diabolically bad as it was, say, 4 months ago, where the slightest bit of contact would result in a penalty. So there we go, yellow flags at turn 1. You've got TX3 McG there, who was in the top 3 for a lot of the race, and unfortunately it's on us. And this guy was quite dodgy, as you'll see in just a few moments time. So as you can see, they're closing up to the Audi TT, and we're trying to force P Walker GTR to go to the left hand side. And we brake early, and then Janino just comes storming through on the inside. Really aggressive driving, and this race was notorious for bringing out the worst in people, I think, because everyone was just going for stupid moves, I think, including me, to be fair. And it was all down to just lack of patience, I think, because they're just kind of looking for the move. But I do believe that there, P Walker did brake a little bit early, and there wasn't really much I could do in that regard, because I think that what happened there was, I think P Walker braked early, and then I was right behind Janino, and then I braked a bit too late, and then Janino unfortunately got sent into the realm of shadows. But then we are still only 3 times behind P Walker GTR, so it's not all bad, is it? But anyway, as we go into the first corner, then only 2 more laps of racing left after this, and this is where things get really, really ugly in this one. So accelerating out of turn number 2, we are definitely quicker than P Walker at this stage in the race, and we've got to get past him, as I do think we will break away if we do so. But as you can see there, the gap to Agu is absolutely monstrous. It's about 7 or 8 seconds, I think, all because we got stuck behind this Frenchman. And it is really frustrating when you lose so much due to pointless battling. Let's go into the big banky boy then. Janino once again is going to go down the inside. He always goes for the gap, and it's really frustrating, because I don't think that he should have gone for that move at all. He should have just tucked in behind and waited for a better opportunity. But here we're going to look for a revenge overtake. We're going to absolutely slam up the inside, but we think better of it, and we're just going to tuck in behind and make sure that P Walker doesn't get away. But here, just the understeer is absolutely crazy. The front tyre is really starting to suffer. And here I thought Neon Scorpio was going to go for the move, but thankfully he thinks better of it and backs out of the corner. So now only 2 laps of racing left, and we've already been going for almost 24 minutes as we'll just cross the line there. And yeah, 24 minutes of racing past, and there's still about 3 minutes left. So going up the inside of Janino there, but that was more because he braked early, although I do think that was a consequence of P Walker braking early as well. But as we go into turn number 3, then clipping the apex nice and then accelerating out, it seems as though that no one can get past this guy, whether it be due to questionable tactics or the car just being that good. It's really it's up in the air, I think. But I do think that this the Frenchman is Momo's, because he shares a lot of the characteristics. You know, he's quite fast, but he's also just goes for really stupid overtakes, and then just there we get shafted out wide, and then A72 coming out of nowhere, and he picks up a 2-second penalty, which I do believe is deserved, as he did push me onto the gravel. Now at this point, Blue Racer's on my tail, and he's gonna pull alongside, and I was really desperate for him not to go for this move, but unfortunately he does, and now he's just going to lose us even more time. And we've gone from P9 down to P12 in just a matter of corners, which is really frustrating, but it is what it is, and there's still another lap to go, which is really important. But they're 3 wide into the last corner, and I knew immediately that was not going to end well, and Janino gets shafted wide, and I was going to lose them a lot of momentum. We're going to get past into turn number 1, and now we've got Neon Scorpion alongside as well. So into turn number 1 there, we're going to get a tiny bump from Janino behind, which is where it all kicks off. So we've got Neo Scorpion on my outside, and we're going to get past him, and then Blue Racer goes side by side with P Walker. We managed to go down the inside of Blue Racer, but it doesn't quite pay off. But at this point Ace has broken free, but he does have that penalty to serve, which is really going to cost him here. But as we go on to the final lap then, Blue Racer managed to find a way past P Walker there, and then we're just going to follow Blue Racer through. But then the gap opens up on the left hand side, we're going to go down the inside. It's a brave move, but we just managed to get it stopped, and we move up into P8. But unfortunately P Walker GTR manages to get in front there of the pack behind, and that was the car I did not want to end up behind me because it has such good acceleration. But as we go into the final sector then of the final lap of the race, we're just gonna go defensive, park it on the apex, and it's all kicking off behind. I think it was 3 wide temporarily there, but the front tyres just have no grip left at all, and we're gonna go defensive even into this last corner because I just did not want to risk getting sent down the inside like I did by Janino many times. But as we go on the run to the line, it's going to be P8, which is not bad at all, but given that Agu was behind us at the start and he finished 11 seconds in front, really could have been much more. Now I did go again, but I did not manage to get any more points, so unfortunately we did not take home the 237 points we earned. But if you did enjoy, like and subscribe, turn on those post notifications. But take care everyone, and goodbye.